Silly me. Hopefully everyone can hear me and see me. This is always testing. 1, 2, 3. I figured I would grab my snowball mic from the other room because I was having microphone problems for some reason today, and I don't know why. So let me check on all my settings, make sure everything is being broadcast to the different streams, and then we will get going. But I do see that I see an eyeball. So I know we have at least one viewer right now. So if you want to go ahead and say hello in the chat, that would be really helpful so that I can make sure that everything's broadcasting correctly. It looks like YouTube is going well because I see it. I saw it pop up. Yep, YouTube, at the very least, YouTube is working. So close that up and close everything up. And yeah. All right, so Katie's here. Katie, can you hear and see me? Most of all, can you hear me? Want to make sure that microphone is working. Hello. I'm double checking on my phone. It says here, yes. Okay, I think so. I think we can get started. Awesome, great. Katie says, yes, all good. So I'm going to assume that all of you can see and hear me. Thank you very much. Welcome. Thank you for rolling with me. I know we are not starting at 6:30. We're starting a little bit late here. I tried to schedule it for 6:30 at like 6:20, and my third-party app Be Live didn't let me. It said it has to be 11 minutes to a half hour ahead, but it can't be less than that. So new fun lesson for me to know about my broadcasting software. So anyway, welcome to the broadcast. It is not 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's not our usual time to start. It's about 6:50 Eastern Standard Time on Friday night, but that's okay. I'm here. I am present. I am ready to go. And welcome to the broadcast. If you don't already know me, let me introduce myself. My name is Hilary, and I am a professional tarot reader, demystifying the mystical and putting you in touch with the most beautiful of gifts, your own intuition. Because yes, my friends, do not argue with me. You have intuition. Sorry, I was getting a little bit of an alert there. I thought it was my mom texting me. If you're familiar with the weekly shows, this is the witching hour where she usually calls me while I'm in the middle of my broadcast. And I'm just like, Mom, God. That never ends, folks. Whether you're 16 or 10 or 20 or 40. Mom. But there is so much love there. So can't really complain about that. Anyway, welcome everybody. This is a weekly series that we do every Friday night at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Well, yes, I acknowledge we're starting late tonight. I am going to do my little crawler to remind you every Friday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's when we do it. So we do these weekly episodes on all sorts of topics, from tarot topics, because yes, I am a tarot reader. If you'd like to book over reading with me, I would absolutely love to serve you through the magic and beauty of the tarot. Right down here, tarotbyhilary.com. That is Hilary with one L. Book something with me on my website, and I would love to talk to you and pull tarot cards for you and tell you your life. Much like Cher's role in Moonstruck. What are you doing? I'm telling you your life. That's me, but with the tarot cards. Though I am not quite as glamorous as Cher. So, but I have my own style, I think. So we do tarot topics, we do metaphysical topics, and in this case, this week's episode, we are talking about the goddess Brigid. It is a new series of episodes that we are doing by popular request. So gosh, was it last month? No, it wasn't last month. I think it was either October or November where we started the series, and I think it was early November, where we started this goddess series on the goddess Hecate. So if you are interested in learning about the goddess Hecate, go back to the replays. There is a whole bunch of replays in the workshops playlist on YouTube and also on Facebook Watch, or if you're just on my Facebook business page, you can look and search in the videos. I'm sure you'll be able to find it. So that was the first of the Goddess series, and I'm getting a little bit of chiding going on in my head because Brigid's kind of like, why didn't you start the series with me? Because you're the one that's you're working towards becoming a priestess of mine. So why'd you start with Hecate? I started with Hecate because it was the reason for the season, and also because I wanted to really prepare for this episode, since Brigid is my patron goddess, and I am working towards becoming a priestess of Brigid. So I wanted to be able to give due respect and diligence to covering the topic of Brigid and what she stands for and who she is, and what kind of things you can do to work with her symbology, her stories, what spells you can do, all of that kind of stuff. And I think we actually had a question in, gosh, I can't remember if it was a question in the last episode or 2 episodes ago. Someone asked me who it would be best to work with for blank. And at the top of my head, I was just like, I don't really know. It really depends on who you're working with. But if you're like specifically like getting into your magic, I said like go back to the Hecate episode and watch the Hecate episode, and see if that's the goddess or you should be working with, or if that energy fits what you're trying to do or what you're trying to accomplish. So I can't remember who asked that question, but that's an answer for you. And I think I answered it 2 episodes ago. But again, basically my point is there are a lot of episodes that we've already recorded. I've done this series weekly every Friday night at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So we have quite a backlog of episodes, and don't think that I haven't covered everything. Like I mean, this has only been like 2.5 years of doing the weekly episodes. So what I want to say is there's a ton of episodes that you can look through, at 3 a.m. and you're bored, or you need an answer right now. Like, no need to text me, no need to DM me. Try and look at the archives and see if I've already answered your question by one of the topics that I've already taught. So I obviously can't cover everything. But if there is a topic that you're interested in learning of a metaphysical tarot divination witch nature, please go ahead, drop it into the comments. Let me know, because I am always taking your notes and suggestions. I might not be able to do the episode right away. I might not be able to do the episode at all because I don't have the background to be able to teach that. But I am always willing to listen to your suggestions and teach the things that I know, or to do a little bit of research so that I can bring the topic to you, and then you can do your own in-depth research. And that's always the point of these episodes. Like, I'm not going to be able to cover everything because we do have a short amount of time. I try to keep these episodes tight, sometimes with varying success because we're all having fun and we're grooving together and I'm answering a bunch of questions. So sometimes it becomes a marathon session, which is kind of nice. And sometimes I got to keep it tight and keep it to an hour. So, but tons of episodes for you to go through, tons of free resources for you to peruse. But if those free resources aren't enough for you and you want to book a reading with me or a tarot tutoring session with me, or you want to pick my brain for a half an hour or an hour, you can book a reading. Book an appointment with me, tarotbyhilary.com. Okay, so if you're new to these episodes, here's the structure of these episodes. We start off with the astrology from Teresa Reed's wonderful Astro Biz Digest. I will let you know how to get that before I get into the astrology. This is something that I quote from, and it is something that I have a subscription to. I've been subscribing to her Astro Biz Digest for about 3 or 4 years now. As soon as she started doing it, I immediately subscribed. So Teresa Reed, aka the Tarot Lady, doesn't do readings for the public anymore. And I don't think she does astrological readings for the public anymore either. So she does both tarot and astrology. But the ways that you can work with her, you can find her on Patreon, and then you can also subscribe to her Astro Biz Digest. So there's different ways to work with her still. It's just she's not doing readings one-on-one for the public anymore. So you can still work with her, but the way that she is stipulated, she works now because she is prolific. She is getting a lot of writing done. I think her 8th or 9th book is coming out. I don't know how she does it all. And I think the reason she's able to publish the amount of writing that she's been doing is because she has structured her life that way. There's a lot of people that are quite sad that they're not able to get a one-on-one session with her anymore. But this is the time that people like me, other people that are reputable and that she recommends or refers, this is our time to shine, because I am still in a part of my career where I am doing one-on-one readings, and I do readings for the public. So, give me a jingle, give me a line. Love to work with you. Also, in the description of this episode, since this is the goddess series, and I do, this happens to be the topic for the goddess series, but I do these episodes every Friday night at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and this is a free resource to everyone. But I would appreciate it if you are so inclined and you can do it monetarily. Please contribute to the tip jar that I've provided. It is my PayPal link. No amount is too big or too small to show your appreciation for these live episodes, and also so that I can purchase the equipment and the lighting and this and my Be Live subscription to be able to give you high production value and a lot of great content. So if you can, please contribute to the tip jar or book a reading with me. Any way you can support me would be appreciated. And if you don't have the money right now, I totally understand that. Go ahead and share this episode with a friend that you think might be interested, or you like my style. Share it. If you don't have money, share it, subscribe, click the bell, do all of the things. Okay, let's get to the astrology. So Astro Biz Digest first, then I teach the topic, and then at the end of the episode, if you're looking for freebie readings, I don't really do that in this space. But what I do is provide you astrology at the top of the episode and the weekend forecast at the bottom of the episode, right when we wrap up. So I either pull a tarot card or an oracle card or an affirmation card, whatever I'm feeling, to give you a message for the weekend ahead. And don't think that just because you're not here live, if I happen to pull applicable tarot card for you and it's January 28th, 2022, and you're watching this February 5th, 2025, if the message resonates for you, then the message resonates for you. So there you go. Whew, okay. I need hydration after all of that, because I just went. Does anyone have any questions for me of a general nature? How's your Mercury retrograde and Venus retrograde been going? Let me know while I hydrate myself and then also pull up the Astro Biz Digest, because I'm sure Teresa has something to say about today, tomorrow, and Sunday. And remember that I am broadcasting Eastern Standard Time. So, and Teresa's Astro Biz Digest is in Eastern Standard Time as well. So please adjust accordingly if you are out of that time zone. I know that Katie already adjusts because she is from Australia. So, and I have some spamming going on right now, and that's interesting. So that's over on YouTube. If you're happening to see that over on YouTube, please ignore, don't click on that. This is the downside of being live and broadcasting live. So let me click on that and report that before we go forward. Let's see. Reports. 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 I need a producer. This is a lot to do all by my onesie, but gotta do it. Gotta do it. Gotta protect this space. All right, done. Okay. So Katie says, Mercury retrograde started a new job and none of the IT worked. Totally forgot that it would be that would be my Mercury problem. Yep, that sounds about right. took the whole week before things started to work. I totally hear you. Totally. Like, I mean, with again, like, for those of you who have been tuning in to these episodes, like, I never say that I'm an astrologer because I'm not. I'm primarily a tarot reader. However, I do know just enough astrology to be dangerous. And most of the time, like, that's the reason why I subscribe to things like the Astro Biz Digest, because she describes things in layman's terms. So it's just like, I don't need to know what a Mercury retrograde means. I just know that Mercury retrograde means blank because Teresa told me so, or because my astrological professionals told me so. But I have experienced some things that are like very specific to Mercury retrograde that sometimes astrologers don't talk about, but I also like keep that in the back of my mind too. So Mercury retrograde usually affects travel, technology, and communication. So that lines up with what Katie's saying, that none of the IT worked. Took a whole week before things started to work, and we are starting to get to the end of it. I think it ends February 3rd, or I could be wrong about that because Venus is also retrograde too. So for Mercury retrograde, travel, technology, communication is affected. For Venus retrograde, I think it's beauty, perception, and relationships that are affected. So like every planet can go retrograde. And then it just means something different because a different planet rules different things. So that's the reason why things go haywire when Mercury is in retrograde, and that's the reason why things go haywire when Venus is retrograde. They don't all go haywire at once. It's certain topics that tend to be affected. So Venus retrograde, don't cut your own bangs. Like, I was I don't know if I told this story before, but I was scanning through Facebook, and I saw one of my friends was just like, give me one reason why I shouldn't cut my own bangs right now. And I'm just like, Venus is retrograde. Don't do it. I hope I'm not too late. So yeah. Any stories about Venus retrograde and Mercury retrograde, I would love to hear it. I'm going to go ahead and display the Astro Biz Digest so that you all know. But this is Teresa Reed's work, aka the Tarot Lady. And I usually share on these episodes the astrology for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I don't usually share the astrology for the entire week because then that's taking away from Teresa's work. So if you're interested, if you're liking what you're hearing from me, it's not from me, it's from Teresa. And I would strongly encourage you to purchase the Astro Biz Digest. It's a $99 subscription for the whole year, astrology in your inbox. Yes, it is geared towards business owners and entrepreneurs, but I found it to be very, very helpful in my personal life as well. Keep that in mind. So while I'm saying that, I'm hydrated, I'm ready to go. I took care of the spammy spammers. which is still going on Instagram. I've started to post my stuff again, but I put like a big tarot by Hilary on top of it just to take care of the impersonators and scammers and spammers. But we have an entire episode on that too, so check out that episode. Be savvy customers and consumers and clients. I want you to have a reputable experience with a reputable tarot reader. You know, like, even if it's not with me, even if you don't book a reading with me, I still want you to have a good experience with a tarot reader, and I want you to go to a reputable tarot reader. Okay? Okay. AstroBiz Digest. Weekly forecast for January 24th through the 30th. That is us. That's us right now. So there's a lot going on astrologically. So I'll give you like the overview. Yes, that's right. So Mercury is still going to be retrograde until February 3rd. Venus is also retrograde. Venus does station direct this week, but Mercury is still retrograde until February 3rd. So remember to rest, redo, rethink, revamp, and recuperate. And back up your computer and website, or not. Like, it's already too late. If you haven't done it already, it's already too late. And the link to purchase the AstroBiz Digest is here, Tarot Lady, thetarotlady.com/AstroBiz Digest. Okay. Okay, Mars is in Capricorn beginning on the 24th. Superb for business. You can climb every mountain in front of you like the goat of Capricorn and reach the top of your goals. No matter what's getting in your way, this Mars finds a way around it. Determination is in, ambition is plentiful. Go for the goal. Don't stop until you hit your mark. It's great for making big decisions, scaling your business, and leadership. You've got this transit on your side until March 6th. Tap into this vibe and you'll be unstoppable. I had totally forgotten about this, so I'm glad that I'm reading this with you guys now. That's pretty damn accurate. Mercury slides back into the sign of the goat on the 25th. Consider this your right time for examining your business structures and employees. What's working out or not? Where do you need to tighten up your ship? You'll get the info you need to lay better plans for this year. Also, it's tough going for negotiations. Be patient and willing to wait to sign the dotted line. Once Mercury is direct on February 3rd, making deals should be easier. Venus stations direct on the 29th, so that's tomorrow. It will seem as if some of the pressure eases up. Cash flow improves, negotiations improve, and people behave better. But give it a few more days before you start celebrating. Once Mercury retrograde ends, nothing is standing in the way of your success. So that is the general overview going on right now for this week. Those are the big astrological events. Yeah, I would agree with you, Katie. Good week to start a job then. I'd agree with you on that. All right, so let's get to the details. So today, Friday, January 28th, the morning is pretty straightforward. If you're hitting the road or the ground running, you can get far. The afternoon shifts gears once the moon squares Neptune at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, a baffling aspect that casts a foggy vibe over the afternoon. Yeah, I'd agree with that. It's hard to see which way to go or what might work. Best to give it a rest until tomorrow. Important communication arrives in the inbox at 11:16 p.m. when Mercury conjoins with Pluto. This might change the game going forward, but hold off on making decisions until Mercury is direct on February 3rd. Today, Friday, January 28th, is a power day for Sagittarius and a weekday for Gemini. All right. We're good for Friday. Giving a little look-see to the chat. Yes. Saturday and Sunday. Venus will be direct on Saturday at 3:46 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So early morning for those of us on the Eastern Standard Time. Can I get a hallelujah? If relationships were testy and expenses hefty, it's about to get a lot better soon. Be sure to check out the info above the scopes. I already said that. The moon is in Capricorn all weekend, which means it's your 2 best days for moving through challenging tasks, meeting with power players, and leadership duties. The Moon-Mars conjunction at 10:10 a.m. is incredibly dope for negotiations over brunch. Hit up publishers and broadcast your message wide when the moon sextiles Jupiter at 3:03 p.m. This is also a sweet spot for travel. Hold on one second. Let me make sure that... okay. Sorry, I just got an alert there. Let me make sure that everything's okay. 3:03. Double checking my feeds. Load, damn you. What is going on? Okay, cool. Sorry about that. Got distracted there. Everything's pinging and ringing. 3:03. I'm going to say that again. Hit up publishers and broadcast your message wide when the moon sextiles Jupiter at 3:03 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is also a sweet spot for travel. Also, but keep in mind, if you're on the Eastern Seaboard right now, you might not want to be going anywhere because we're under, at least in New York, we're under, I think, a blizzard advisory. So, note the astrology, but also take that grain of common sense as well. Take a break when the moon squares Chiron at 7:04 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The walking wounded are looking for drama, and you don't need that. P.S. Close out the inbox, and you may miss a few stray emails that do not need a response. Host a dinner with your team when the moon trines Uranus at 9:47 p.m., followed by a conjunction with Venus at 10:08 p.m. You can choose to talk business or not. Sunday morning is quiet in the cosmos, which means you can concentrate on significant tasks. Use the first part of the day to catch up on paperwork, craft proposals, or organize the office. The sun squares Uranus at 2:32 p.m., an unpredictable vibe that disturbs the peace. My plan, rest. However, imagination is on tap when the moon Neptile sextile at... say that 5 times fast. Imagination is on tap with the moon Neptune sextile at 2:48 p.m. if you decide to keep at it. You can use that energy to batch a bunch of content for the week. Clean out the clutter or clean out the inbox at 9:26 p.m. when the moon is conjunct Mercury, or enjoy dinner with your loved ones. Business surely can wait until Monday. Great debates over gorgeous food shouldn't have to be passed up for work. Both Saturday and Sunday are power days for Capricorn and weekdays for Cancer. Whew! A lot of stuff going on. A lot of stuff. So what I like to do is open up the floor to any questions about the week that you've had, whether or not you've had like a weird Monday or Tuesday. And I will take a peek at the AstroBiz Digest, give you maybe a sense of what was going on so that you can kind of understand. Was there an astrological reason for it? But I don't do this to make excuses. We don't want to blame astrology for our problems. I know people like to do that sometimes, but we want to use astrology much like we use tarot to help us navigate, but not to make excuses, not to be a crutch. Like we want to be prepared, not scared. We want to be able to navigate and work with the energy rather than against the energy. Like if it's time to rest, if astrologically or the tarot, you're getting like the 4 of Swords, that's typically a card of rest, and then you go out there and try to push yourself, it might be even harder for you to be able to do that because you're working against the astrology and you're working against the tarot energy. So it's just like, maybe you just need to rest instead of trying so hard to fit, a square peg in a round hole. So I'm going to put up the countdown timer, a countdown widget, and give it about, I'd say a minute so I can hydrate. Brigid episodes in A minute. There we go. I figured as much. I knew I got it. I got to it, Katie. So Katie says, you've hit the main points for me, so I'm cool. Hopefully things get better next week when the retrogrades end. I agree. I mean, here's the thing. So I'm going to say this a little bit for when we start to talk about Brigid. It's almost a sense of like personal gnosis for me when I am going to talk about Brigid, because it's just like, can you learn about that association in any book? No, because it's personal. So I'm going to say the same thing about Mercury retrograde. So Mercury retrograde covers travel, communication, and technology. Those are the three things that it rules, and therefore those are the three things that we commonly have issues with for the 3 weeks that Mercury is in retrograde. I should have put more time on the counter because now I'm talking. But I don't want to lose my thought. So those are the three things, and like most astrologers will tell you, yeah, it's travel, technology, communication. Those are the things. However, when Mercury retrograde happens, that planet is moonwalking back through the signs. So the sign that it's retrograding, that's probably not the right way to say it, but the sign that it's in as it's seeming to pass backwards also can give a tinge to where the fuckery is happening. And yes, I curse in these episodes. So, like, for example, let's go back to the Astrobiz Digest, where she says, I think it's Mercury in Capricorn. Like, see how like Mars is in Capricorn. Here's what that means. Speaking of Capricorn, Mercury slides back into the sign of Capricorn, into the sign of the goat on the 25th. So when that happens, this is your best time for examining your business structures and employees. What's working? What's not? Where do you need to tighten up? And it's tough going for negotiation. So that means like, here's Mercury retrograde and what Mercury retrograde affects. And then this is what it affects specifically because it is in the sign of Capricorn. Business structures, employees, what's working, what's not, where you need to tighten up. So like structures. Makes sense to everybody? So what I wanted to say about that is that's a very typical thing. However, I have noticed, and again, I'm not an astrologer, so please don't think that I'm an astrologer. I'm not an astrologer. I have noticed, though, that during Mercury retrogrades, the tendency for people to make silly mistakes or end up having superficial injuries, I've seen it too many times not to find a correlation. Maybe it's a causation and not a correlation. It's related somehow because I've noticed it. I've like started to tally it. And I'm just like, like someone broke their leg, which is not superficial. I'm not going to say that's superficial, but it's just like the way that they did was just like bizarre or weird. Or like I ran into a parked car. Like I didn't even see it there and it was parked. It's not like I got hit by a car. I hit the car and I got like a sprained ankle, or I stepped wrong off of the sidewalk and I sprained my ankle. Or I think it was one time when I was working in retail and I was gift wrapping something. My friend that I worked with, who was also my coworker, had sharpened the scissors that we used to like cut the ribbons. We had a roll of gift wrapping, so we would pull the roll. But for bows and ribbons and everything, we would have scissors. And I ended up snipping the tip of my finger off because the scissors were so sharp. And she was like, and I was just like, oh, it was fine. It grew back. It was like not even that bad. And also I didn't have nails at the time. Like my nails are pretty good now, but I just remember like, I was snipping to snip a ribbon and my finger was in the way, and it was just like just a corner, and I, I swear it was during a Mercury retrograde. So that's the kind of thing that I've noticed. And I don't think any astrologer really has mentioned that before. I mean, maybe they have. If you're an astrologer and you're watching this episode, like comment and let me know. But like, I've just noticed that that happens also during a Mercury retrograde. So like, don't be careless with your body, like be very intentional of where you're walking and make sure like you're like not like looking over here instead of looking down. Like watch where you're going and be intentional about your body and your movements, because like it's just so easy to have an accident during Mercury retrograde. That's what I found. So Katie says, cut my finger on a tin can edge. I was super tired when I did it. This week? This week or the last Mercury retrograde? Because yeah, exactly. That's exactly the kind of thing that I'm talking about. Yep. Yeah, always manage to break glasses or cups or cut myself when I'm super tired, and Mercury retrograde, I can't sleep well. Yes. Yeah, I mean, like, think about Mercury and the communication aspect of it and the messenger. Like, Mercury is the messenger. And also, he's a trickster. Many stories about Mercury, he's a trickster. So it has like all of that's related. I really do think it is. Again, not an astrologer, but yes, this week. Yeah. So take care of yourself. Like I know it's hard to do sometimes, and I do have some sleep problems from time to time, but like I haven't been sleeping that great lately either. It's just like my mind's just constantly working. And like, I'm trying not to catastrophize. I'm trying to do it. Yeah. I hear you. Definitely. So anybody else about astrological stuff before we move on to talking about Brigid? And I'm mostly going to be saying, like, here, buy Courtney Weber's book. There, end of the episode. I'm kidding. But also, like, kind of not kidding. Buy this book. It'll help. I need to hydrate. Whew. So I do want to do some announcements, though, some shop updates before we move into the Brigid episode. And I think I did note this in my newsletter. If you're not a newsletter subscriber, you can definitely get on the list the next time I send out the newsletter. I typically send out the newsletter on the 1st and the 15th of every month. So be a newsletter subscriber. You can sign up at tarotbyhilary.com. On the top portion, there should be a place to put your name and your email. But I did do some shop updates because I do have email readings as well. So it doesn't have to be an in-person reading. Technology is wonderful. We actually did do a whole episode on how to do online readings. And I did that, I think, a month into the pandemic. So that was early days, but that was like one of my most popular episodes. It was very fascinating for people to see how I work, and for me as well to realize that I just like, it doesn't matter how I deliver the reading because I work in a very similar way, no matter where I'm giving the reading. Like an in-person reading with me is really no different than a Skype reading with me, is really no different than a phone reading with me. Like it's still the same experience. And I know that sounds weird for people, especially weird for people that are used to getting readings done in person. But I'm telling you, like, I almost work better with phone readings and online readings and Skype readings or Zoom readings. I just, it's in the comfort of my own home. You're in the comfort of your own home. And it's just like, we're very focused and we're together, and it's energy, like you don't need to touch my cards in order to get your energy into them. I'm sitting with you, I'm talking with you, I'm discussing with you. And as I'm talking with you, I mean, like those of you who have done Skype readings or phone readings with me, you should be used to this. I'm sitting here, I'm shuffling. Um, and I'm asking you about your situation, as much or as little as you want to tell me, so we can get that energy into the cards. And then we start the reading. I usually pull 3 to 5 cards for every question, or I do a Celtic cross, or I do a specific spread. But what I wanted to say is shop updates at tarotbyhilary.com. I have some specialty readings that I usually only offer at the start of every year. And I keep it to a minimum, I think, of 10 people, or, only in the month of January. So this reading that I do, it's called the 13 Moons reading. And it's, I saw it in the Wild Unknowns altar cloth spreads, which is really beautiful. Unfortunately, they don't make it anymore, but it's basically 13 cards, one card for each month of the year. And then we do a 13th card in the middle, which can be selected randomly, or as random as tarot is, which it isn't. Or I can calculate your birth card or year card for that particular year. And usually I'll calculate the year card for you using space math addition to subtract down to the major arcana card that's associated with the year, because 2022 is the year of the lovers. 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 2 equals 6, which corresponds to the lover's card of the major arcana. So that is the general year card for the year 2022, but everyone has their own personal year card and how they're personally affected by that numerology energy of the year. And the way you can do that is you calculate from your birthday, your birth month, and then the year 2022, or whatever year you're looking at. Like, it can be really interesting to calculate that information based on, like, I know that 2012 was a really weird year for me. Let's see what my personal year card was for that year. And then you realize it's just like, oh, wow, like I quit my job, or I got a new boyfriend, or I got married, or I had my first child, or, like there's different, there's so many ways to work with birth cards and year cards. And I would really recommend, of course, I don't have the copy of it right now because I didn't anticipate talking about it, but Who Are You in the Tarot by Mary K. Greer. Really great book to work with if you want more information about birth cards and year cards. And also Teresa and I did do an Instagram live about this December 30th on Instagram. So if you want to take a look at that, you totally can. And I think I mentioned that in my newsletter. So go and check that out. I think you can just go The Tarot Lady and you'll be able to see it. So why did I say that? Oh, yes, because the other day I was like, the first week in January, I had a lot of clients the first week of January. Like I was doing at least 2 readings every day. And this is with working a full-time job. So that's a lot for me. So I think I did like 10 readings that week. And some of them were email readings, some of them were phone readings, some of them were Skype readings. But one of the readings that I did it over the phone, but I ended up doing the 13 moons spread for that person because I felt moved to do so. I was just like, okay, well, you want this. And usually like for like a general snapshot reading, I'll go with the Celtic cross. But this time I was just like, you know what? I really want to do this 13 moons spread for you because I think it'll be really helpful. And so, you get a card for each month, what to be focused on and everything. And it is a little bit more fortune telling than I don't know, I'm entirely comfortable with, but at the same time, I kind of use those cards as advice. Like, here's what you're getting for March. So this is the advice, the best advice that this card gives you for March. And we have done that spread before for our tarot reading for the collective for the year 2020 or 2021. I think we did it. We didn't do it for this year yet because I'm kind of afraid to know. But we probably can do it in February. Long story short, I am offering that as a specialty reading. I think it's a 15-page PDF that I give you. And that is done in my own time. I usually say that the turnaround time is 1 week because it is intensive and I have to type it all up and take pictures and send it all out to you. But it is a wonderful resource to be able to do that. And then you can go back to it for each month of the year and be like, holy shit, like, wow, like how accurate it can be. Now, remember, we did this for 2020, and in January, I think, we pulled the death card for March, I think. And I think it was the death card reversed. And like I think it was the Mystic Mondays deck that we used. Well, it was just like this black cloud. And it really did look like pestilence. And like, that's when everything was happening with the pandemic. So I'm just like, wow. Like, and I'm not gilding the lily here and saying, like I'm the best tarot reader in the world, because like that reading was all of us doing that together. And, even tarot readers get a little bit freaked out sometimes about what we say to people or what we predict sometimes for other people, what we predict for ourselves. Like we do get that, like, how did I know that? And sometimes it's not a voice that we are familiar with. Sometimes it's like the voice of intuition or the voice of the gods. Getting back to Brigid, which I know this episode is about, but like we're not immune to that either. We are also human too. So keep that in mind. And also, that information is not for us. It's not like, if we remembered everything that we said to every single client, we would probably go stark raving mad, because the information's not for us. We're not your filing cabinet. The information's for you, and we're just the messengers. We're just the conduit. So, and also that's the reason why I say the tagline that I do every single week on these episodes. You have intuition too. You absolutely do. Part of my job is helping you connect with your own intuition, as well as, like, I'll share my intuition with you, but I'm also talking to your intuition, because I want you to be reading your own cards. I want you to be listening to your intuition, because it's there to help you. All right, stop. I'll get down off my soapbox. But if you were interested in the 13 moons, it will be leaving the shop soon, unless I get some more general interest about it. But if you're interested in that, it is there. And I'm going to put that over here, for the weekend forecast. But you want to go to tarotbyhilary.com, of course. And at the top of the top navigation, you can just go to shop. And you can learn a little bit more about the 13 moons personalized yearly forecast. You see what it gets: 12 advice cards, a 13th card based on your year card. Or if you have a favorite tarot deck that you want me to use, or do you want me to focus on a specific area of your life, you can include that in the notes to business section. It's limited to 10 people per month, and the turnaround time is 1 week. And when they're gone, they're gone. So I don't open this up very often, because they are intense to do, and that price is $200. So it's intense, but it's not that much more than an hour-long session with me. So consider that. I also still have my email readings too. My email readings for as many questions as you want, 3 cards. I have my Tessa Oracle email readings, and I'm going to put the shop link in the chat first and foremost. But here's the reason why I wanted to do the shop update, where we talk a little bit about Brigid. Ha! By the way, the deep card for this is the High Priestess. Of course it is. Of course it is, because sometimes I do associate the High Priestess with Brigid. I also associate the Empress with Brigid. So some of you may know, and so I have done readings before where I've provided this service, but it has been taken down for now. And here's the reason why. So I do an email reading, and then I do a personalized EFT/tapping session based upon the theme of the cards that came up for you. If you're interested in EFT and tapping, there is an episode on that. So go ahead and go into the episode's archives if you're interested. So I can see you. I can see you, Zori. I'm just talking my mouth off right now. I will get to you in a second. I just don't want to lose my thought. I see you, Zuri. I see you. I'm so glad that you're here. So if you're interested in EFT and tapping, the emotional freedom technique, we did do an episode on that. Look back in the archives, learn all about it. It was such a fun episode. And that has a personalized tapping session for you at the end of it instead of a weekend forecast. So, ooh, which it's kind of crazy to look at, but it's like you're tapping on the different acupressure points and you're talking about positive affirmations, but you're also kind of releasing the negative as well. Like, you usually start with the setup statement on the karate chop point, and you say, like, even though I'm really freaked out about teaching right now, I love and accept and forgive myself. Even though I'm nervous that people aren't going to like me because I took down this offering, I still love and accept and forgive myself. And that's kind of silly. And I feel a little bit silly for feeling guilty about it and blah, 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 blah. And then you go through the tapping points and you go from the negative statements to the positive statements, and you tap away the anxiety and put a pause on your overactive amygdala fight, flight, or freeze response. And yeah, it's interesting. It's not for everybody, but I find it to be helpful. There's an episode on it. So here's the reason why I'm mentioning it. I used to do email readings with personalized EFT tapping session of the cards that came up. I have taken it down. Here's the reason why. The person that I mention that I learned about this technique from and have learned from in passing with some of her like e-courses. She is now, and this is Gala Darling, she is now offering a certification course in her method, which she kind of calls power tapping. So it's two-handers instead of like one hand, and it's like a different order. But I find it to be very helpful. If you're interested in that, she does High Vibe Honey every week, which she now does over Zoom. It's no longer on YouTube, but there's a ton of archived episodes on High Vibe Honey. So you can go to youtube.com/Gala-Darling and look in EFT. There's tons of High Vibe Honey videos for you. But the fact that she did, like, she put a tarot card, and then she would like talk about that tarot card, and then she would be like, okay, well, I think we should tap on this because the Empress card came up, and it's just like, okay, so we're not our mothers. Like, let's tap on that. So like those are the kind of, it's almost like it's a very intuitive way of tapping that I really liked. And also I had never seen someone doing that before, like taking the tarot and then doing the emotional freedom technique. So she is now offering tapping EFT certification. It's her method. We're starting on February 1st, I think. I have my book. I'm not opening it for the proprietary information because we're not there yet. But I am taking this course. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Gala, if you're watching, ooh, so pretty. So this is the course book. And we're already doing like our homework. It's like a warm-up thing. So, but I basically took down that offering. Yes, sir. Her hybrid method sounds really cool. Thank you so much, Comment Assistant, for helping me. I basically took down that offering because I didn't feel confident enough to continue to offer that to my clients until really taking a certification for that. And I know that sounds crazy to people because I am very against certification for tarot. But for the emotional freedom technique, I can understand why. And it is her method. So if I'm learning her method and I'm saying this is where I learned it from and this is what works for me, and, you know, I want to be able to do it the right way. So it's a little bit different than tarot certification, you know, or yoga certification, which is a very fraught topic. But yeah, so that's the reason why I'm doing it. I'm going to be certified in the Gala Darling method of EFT tapping. At the top of the book, it says, I deeply and completely love, accept, and forgive myself, which is something that you hear all the time if you're doing a tapping script. But I wanted to let everybody know the reason why I did that. So, you know, I am very much in favor of continuing your personal development and continuing your professional development. So when I am done with that certification, I'm going to have a little badge and I'm going to let people know, like, this is what I'm certified in. And I'm going to probably do more offerings in which I incorporate EFT and the motion freedom technique and tapping along with my tarot sessions. So if that's interesting to you, I would love to hear it. And I'm very excited about it. So let me go back and say hi to Zuri, because I'm glad that she's here. Also, Zuri, you need to tell us when the next live sale is. Zuri has some really wonderful stuff. So hi. Yes. So Zuri, I love that we're not your filing cabinet, but it's so true. It is so true. And that's the reason why I said it, because Card Slingers Coast to Coast, that was our episode about the High Priestess. The High Priestess is not your filing cabinet. Neither are we. Did I display this? I did. I think I displayed this before, but I'll display it again. If you're interested in the 13 Moons personalized, specialty reading, you can find it there in my shop page. And Zuri says, can you see me? No worries. Just making sure there wasn't a glitch on Facebook. Don't worry about getting back to me. Carry on. Okay, good. Zuri's also feeling the Mercury retrograde vibes. Good to know. So when I was trying to join the live, it wouldn't let me click on the notification to join from there. So I'm definitely feeling the Mercury retrograde vibes. Well, that's not okay, damn it. No, boo. I'll be doing lives in February. Been sick and recovering. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that, Zuri. I hope you're feeling better, and I'm going to send you good vibes, and I'm sure everybody that's watching is going to send you good vibes as well. We've got a really great community we've got going on in these weekly shows. All right, so we're an hour in, and I've still been yammering away. Not keeping it tight tonight. That's okay. So let's talk about Brigid, because that is the subject of tonight's episode. It is part of the Goddess series of episodes. We did do Hecate already. So if you're interested in learning about Hecate, please, again, find the archives, find her. She's there. And let's talk a little bit about Brigid. I am going to be teaching about Brigid off the cuff here. I don't have any notes, but basically, I don't really need them, but I also do. So I do want to say, first of all, and this is something that I said about Hecate when we did the Hecate episode, and it is in the episode description as well. Included in this episode is recommended resources and my own personal gnosis from working with Brigid. So please don't confuse or conflate the two. My experience with Brigid is going to be different than your experience with Brigid if you choose to work with her. And she has many different aspects. She is, I mean, I spoke about this a little bit with Hecate, where, people start to attribute this whole maiden mother crone aspect onto Hecate. They quasi do that a little bit with Brigid, with this, but not necessarily with maiden mother crone. It's the different faces or sisters. But she's so multi-talented. So it can be like Brigid the healer, Brigid the smith, Brigid the poetess, so she has many different aspects of her skill set. We also talk a little bit about her relationship with the god Lu. In different scenarios, Lu is her companion. In other situations or in other myths, he's her son. And Lu is multi-talented. When we talk about Lunasa, which I believe I did an episode on the Sabbath series, I don't think I missed Lunasa for that. Lu has a story that my coven typically reads around Lunasa about, Lu going to the gates of this very, very popular warlord or king and saying, trying to get entrance into their house or past the gates. And he was basically saying, well, what do you need? Do you need do you need a smith? Do you need a bard? Do you need a this? Do you need a warrior? And basically the gatekeeper kept on saying, like, we already have a blacksmith, we already have a bard, we already have a, you know, a warrior or a spear master or an armorer or many, many different things. And you can bring this, you can do that myth for as long as you can think of different skills or different jobs. And it is kind of funny to do that sometimes because when we do our Lunasa, it's usually outside at a park that we like to go to. And we usually do feats of strength and silliness or almost a talent show because of the relationship with Lunasa. So, you know, we show off our talents because Lu is multi-talented. So basically that mythos is, you know, the gatekeeper keeps on saying, oh, we have that person, we have them. And then and Lu finally comes back, but do you have someone that can do all of it? And then they're just like, no, we don't. And then they grant Lu admittance into the kingdom. So there is a little trickle of that multi-talented aspect that comes with Brigid, with her skill. She is multi-skilled. She is multi-talented. And many people that work with Brigid have this kind of association with her where it's just like, you know, she can do it all. I mean, like, I'm kind of one of them. Like there's a lot of things that she can do. There's a lot of things that you know, I ask for her help with, and I'll try and not be distracted of the running commentary that she's got in my head right now, where it's just like, you don't ask for help enough. Yes, my lady. Yes. Yeah. Many conversations, many arguments that I have with her. But ultimately, you know, I try not to argue with her as much. But she is known for many different things. And if you have experience already with Brigid, please, I would love to hear your thoughts in the chat as well. So the reason why I am doing the Brigid episode tonight is because her holiday, her biggest high holiday, is Imbolc. Which is typically on February 1st, February 2nd, around Groundhog's Day. And that's no coincidence. Also, we do have to remember about the cross quarters and that Northern Hemisphere witches versus Southern Hemisphere witches may be celebrating a different Sabbath and a different season right now. So I've got to teach in the Northern Hemisphere because that's what I know. We are in winter right now, and Imbolc is the quickening, the signs of the spring, what to look out for, and it is primarily a Brigid related holiday. When we have done Yule before, and again, you can find that episode on the Sabbath series. I think I've done 2 Yule episodes at this point. We talk about Yule as the winter equinox, you know, where the day and the night is equal when the returning of the light happens, when it's the longest night, which means that the days will be increasing after that point. Ooh, Dina, when did you creep in here? Hi, Dina. So Dina is also pointing out the new moon is on Imbolc as well. So nice. Good to know. So like there is this newness, there is this freshness happening. There is like we do have that return of the light that started at Yule, but now we're really seeing the early spring with Imbolc. And the root of the word Imbolc is usually called in the belly. So it has a relationship to the sheep and you know, the ewes being born and the milk production. So actually, let me, remembering that this is not an Imbolc episode, it's a Brigid episode. Actually, let me find my notes. So I've been doing over a year Where are my notes? Hold on, I'm going to have to open it. I'm in my second year, well into my second year of votary work or priestess work to become a priestess of Brigid. But in year one, our structure for year one is a lot of like introspection, self-reflection, and then your relationship with the goddess that you are working towards being a priest or a priestess of. So some of it is research assignments, some of it is ritual, some of it is your personal thoughts or how their mythos is reflected in your life and how your life is reflected in their mythos. It's a lot of work, it's not for the faint of heart. Let me tell you that. So, I'm not going to gloss over this kind of work. But let me find, I'm looking at my different assignments because I'm just like, which assignment was the research on? Yeah, number 5, why Brigid? Why your goddess? Because she heard my calls, and in hindsight, because I already talked with her and she said that Hecate can borrow me, but ultimately I'm hers. I did mention that during the Hecate episode. She was pretty darn clear because it was a little push-pull between Hecate and Brigid. But Brigid made her stand and basically said, you can borrow her, but she's mine. So, oh, this is making me kind of happy to read some of these. Ah, yes. So I'll quote from this a little bit, but I'm wondering if I can play gifts. But basically, when I did the research, so it was assignment number 2, and this is way back now. Like, it's interesting trying to become a priestess during a pandemic. Like, it feels almost like an acceleration sometimes, and sometimes it feels like I'm going nowhere fast. And I think that's a lesson for the pandemic for everyone in different aspects of their life, where it's just like sometimes you feel like there's a lot, and sometimes you feel like I'm stuck. So I'll quote from some of this research that I did, because some of it is intensely personal. But what I noticed when I did the second assignment about Brigid and researching her myths and researching different things about her is the further I went, the deeper the rabbit hole goes. And I ended up putting in my assignment the gif, if you ever seen it, of Charlie Day in It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, where he has that conspiracy theory board behind him with all of the different loops and routes and everything. And then he's just like looking at it and turning around and going, that's how I felt when I was researching Brigid, because I was making all of these connections and writing, and I'm just like, does it make sense? Will this make sense, to somebody reading it? Or will they really understand like how deeply meaningful this is for me? And it's interesting because it's the same kind of thing that I say all the time about tarot reading. It's the same thing I say about mediumship. Sometimes, like, if you try to, and dream work as well, sometimes if you try to explain your dreams to somebody else, they're not going to understand the level or the deepness of that meaning for you, because you can't. It's meaningful because you make it so. Like, you're what is meaningful for you may not be meaningful for somebody else, but that doesn't mean that it's lessened because of that. Does that make sense to everybody? I feel like I'm like starting to go all Charlie Day on this, but let me read you some snippets and then it may make a little bit more sense. And please put your comments in the chat if you've worked with Brigid before, if you have any questions for me as well, so that I can help to clarify a little bit more. This is definitely a different version of the Goddess series because I have such a personal connection with Brigid. It's going to be way more rooted in personal gnosis for me than anything else. And I am going to highly, highly recommend, if you want further research, there's starting to be a bunch of books out there on Brigid. But I would highly recommend Brigid, History, Mystery, and Magic of the Celtic Goddess by Courtney Weber. Also, Courtney is my former high priestess, and she is taking me through the votary priestess and training journey. So am I a little biased? Yes, but for good reason. So this is what it looks like. It is by Wiser, published by Wiser. I'll do the back blurb for you. And this is a book that I will not let anyone borrow because this is signed to me. You know, it's not going anywhere. So, Lady of the Well, the Forge, and the Green Earth, I seek you. Brigid, mother, daughter, healer, bard, warrior, fire goddess, goddess of the oak, animals, and magic. Brigid of the Spring, her festival Imbolc, oversees fertility and of all kinds. Brigid is many things to many people. In this enticing book, Courtney Weber offers a wide-ranging exposition and celebration of all things Brigid, who is arguably the most popular figure in Celtic mythology and religion. Meet Brigid in her various incarnations: Celtic pagan goddess, Christian saint, Caribbean voodoo deity. So we always want to acknowledge and give credit to her different facets, and also seek to educate, but not, I'm not remembering the word right now. I'm having a brain fart right now, but we don't want to take somebody else's religious experience and co-opt it for our own if that is not our religion. Like, you have to be very careful and very respectful when you're working with Fudan or Santeria, because if you're not a practitioner, you just need to be careful, or you may need to look in your own personal history or genealogy for your own magic. Like, don't take from other cultures without like, just don't take from other cultures. Educate yourselves. Okay. I know there's an actual name for it, but I'm definitely having a brain fart right now. Oh, by the way, also Brigantia. So there's many, many different aspects, because I just happened to do some bibliomancy. I turned to a picture of Brigantia. So. So our group, our coven, is called the Well and the Forge, because we accept everyone. Like, you don't have to be a Brigid person in order to be a member of our coven. But it would be a lie to say that Brigid isn't all over her coven, because she cares. She just wants to know what's going on with everyone. And we have another spammer. So let me report. Get the hell out of here. Get the hell out of here. Bye. Report. I just want to make sure that's all gone. Okay, good. So our coven's name is the Well and the Forge because those are her main like two aspects. However, she's both. She's the Well and the Forge, and it does have a little bit of like a what do I need right now? You need both, actually. Like she is a blacksmith. She's the goddess of blacksmiths. You need both. You need to be able to, forge your stuff on the anvil and then plunge the sword into the water to be able to give it shape and to give it strength. So you need both. You need both aspects. It can't always be one or the other. Makes sense to everybody? So just in the table of contents here, we've got who is Brigid, the origins, Brigid the healer, lady of the sacred waters. And by the way, spoiler for those of you that may be attending our Imbolc ritual, which I'm going to be leading, we're definitely going to be heavier on the healing waters rather than on the anvil, because I feel like a lot of people have been on the anvil for way too long. So we need some healing. We need some healing waters there. Brigid the Bard, goddess of the arts and craftsmanship, the forge and the anvil. Brigid the fire goddess, goddess of the oak, the sacrificial Brigid, battle goddess, Imbolc, Brigid the springtime goddess, the mother, the midwife, Brigid and animals, and Brigid magic. There's a lot of stuff in this book. If you're thinking about working with Brigid, pick up Courtney Weber's book, please. And I cited a lot of stuff from this book, but then I realized I'm citing her book back to her. That's kind of weird. And sometimes I get a little bit too researchy, and then I'm not saying enough about, my own personal experience, which completely has valid too. Completely is valid too. So going back to my notes, Jupiter and Pisces energy. I'm going to take your word for it because I think out of the two of us, you are the better astrologer or astrology person than I am, Dina. But if that's the way to make sense to you, then absolutely. Now I'm wondering if I'm thinking about my natal chart and I'm wondering if my Jupiter is in Pisces. That would be hilarious. I'm going to have to think about that. Remind me about that. I'll come back to it. Let me get to my notes. So I basically started this off. And by the way, this is December of 2019, folks, before we knew what was going to really happen. In writing this assignment, I had no idea how far down the rabbit hole I would go, twisting and turning in Brigid's myths, origins, stories, legends, and thinking that I had no place in them, that my life wouldn't be reflected in my chosen goddess's stories, or thinking me unworthy to tell them or ascribe meaning to them. Moreover, I believed that I had nothing to say, and I would never be able to make the page minimum. Like most other projects that are worth doing, I stalled, procrastinated, hemmed, hawed, and sought to get it perfect, even though I know that there is no such thing. Not to mention, while flipping through Brigid, you mentioned the very same seeking to get things perfect right out of the gate. A lesson from Bardic Brigid that I'm sure I will run up against again and again as my votary journey continues. Let me put it right over there. And in my ritual to Brigid and with Brigid, she said as much. That just showing up and being present counts for so much more than perfection. But more about that later. Once I sat down to write and compile all of my notes into a manageable, coherent, and chronological sequence, I found I had much more pages to cut down than I had originally imagined. Also, I mentioned doing the research, the associations that occurred in my own life, and trying to explain personal significance and meaning. I felt like that Charlie Day GIF, and I actually created one of my own and put underneath me researching Brigid. I also shared that with some of my fellow votary and priests and priestesses in training, and they just laughed because they had their own experience with their own gods and goddesses that they were doing this work to and for. So they were just like, nope, you're not crazy. Well, not very anyway. So Dina says Jupiter and Pisces energy is the watery springs. Cool. Good. I'm glad I'm on top of that. Um, Brigid is a healer, a teacher, a wise woman, a muse, a source of inspiration, poetry, the arts, compassion, smithcraft, prophecy, agriculture, livestock, and that always present well and forged dichotomy, fire and water. Yet she was also a land goddess, not associated with the land, but she was the land itself. I basically told Courtney there's so many stories and myths about Brigid that it's hard to do this assignment and know if I'm accurate or not. In one myth, she's the daughter of the Dagda. In the next, she's married to the half-Fomorian leader of the Tuathadanan. I'm not going to pronounce that correctly. um, in another myth, she's married to someone else. In another telling, more associated with Saint Brigid, she was the daughter of a great druid raised on the Isle of Iona, sometimes called the Druid's Isle. This is possibly the reason why she was considered the patron goddess of the Druids. While many of us associate her as the daughter of the Dagda, her maternal line is much more unclear. Some say she's the daughter of the Danu, which is a river in Ireland. Others that she is the mother of the Danu and the sister of Angus MacOg, or MacOg, in a particular tale told in Brigid, Goddess, Druidess, and Saint by Brian Wright, she is the daughter of the Morrigan and the Dagda. In another telling, she's the daughter of the goddess Bowen. They make the connections between the saint, the goddess, the sun, poetry, cows, Vedic tradition, and the goddess Bowen, who may have been the mother of Brigid and whose name seems to come from Bohyon, white cow, she of white cattle. I find it interesting and slightly ironic that this portion of her mythology is a question mark, considering she is associated with motherhood, children, fertility, and childbirth. Any questions or thoughts so far? It's a lot. It's a lot. I don't know why I thought I could cover it in an hour. And I'm not going to give everything away. In her saint form, we have more history to go on, more legends extolling her greatness, miracles, and revered status, even if it was by accident in the Bishop Ivor reading from the wrong passage and consecrating the Druidess as a bishop of Kildare. She's associated with Kildare, Ireland. This is clearly shows the mixing of Christian and pagan influence that is so common. As foster mother, she's known as the foster mother of Christ. She is, of course, exceptionally honored, since in Celtic society, the foster parents had a special place. They ranked higher than the natural parents, the relationship being considered extremely sacred. As Rita Minahan says in Rekindling the Flame, a pilgrimage in the footsteps of Brigid of Kildare. Oh, I had a typo in there. Perfection, progress over perfection, right? Rekindling the Flame, roughly paraphrase, it's an exercise in futility to try and separate the historical Christian Saint Brigid from the goddess, since they are so interwoven. What's right, what's wrong, it's all a myth. No one knows for sure. Her worship began in the same way as other Celtic gods and goddesses, out of fear of what would happen if she was not worshipped and revered. Yep, exactly. In the belly. Mm-hmm. In the belly, Imbolc. Mm-hmm. It was a preemptive measure to stave off the harshness of life, worship built as a survival mechanism. Because the Celts had an oral history rather than a written one, it becomes nearly impossible to say what Brigid's real roots are or what the original rituals to her were. But if we can make educated guesses as to the purpose of those rituals, whichever facet of life Brigid presided over, there would likely be a ritual associated with it, such as protection of livestock, abundance of crops, kindling and smoring of fires to protect the hearth and home and the people in it from uncontrolled flame, safeguarding of clean water sources such as wells, streams, rivers, blessings before going to war. Honestly, I feel it would be easier to list everything that Brigid was not worshipped for, Am I back? Guys, can you see me and hear me? I refreshed. You have to let me know where I last left off because I was in the title. I think she got mad at me. Let me know in the chat if we've stopped completely and utterly. Oh gosh. I think she got mad at me, honestly, for how I was butchering the names or the titles. So I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm not doing it anymore. I'm looking to see where exactly I stopped. You guys are going to have to tell me. It was good, some good stuff. Let me know. I'm going to take this opportunity to do a hydration break. Oh. Well, Dina, that's very sweet of you saying that you moved to Facebook, but if I go out on YouTube, I'm out on Facebook too, because it's one streaming propagating to multiple places. So, I mean, I'm glad I'm back, but you can go back over to YouTube if you want. It's working over on YouTube now. Yeah, I think she was mad at me for my pronunciation, so I'm not going to do that anymore. Yes, you were in the midst of Brigid. You had mentioned the Christian bishop, and it was just a bit after that. Oh boy. Let me go back. Christian bishop. Oh my God. God, that's a while ago. That's like 5 paragraphs ago. Okay. So I'll read it very quickly. I'll paraphrase. Okay, cool. All right. Well, I'll repeat myself, and if I repeat myself, I repeat myself. I don't want to leave you all hanging. So I'll go back to that portion. And if I repeat myself, oh well. I did a lot. So in her saint form, we have more history to go on, more legends extolling her greatness, miracles, revered status, because it was that's one of her mythos, that she was a nun, and then she was one of the nuns, and then a bishop was giving a reading and accidentally read from the wrong passage. The bishop Ivor read from a wrong passage and ended up accidentally consecrating Brigid as a druidess, consecrating the druidess as a bishop of Kildare. So like that veneration seemed to happen by accident, that she became a bishop. Great, good. That's a perfect position, actually. Great, good. So basically, the reason why I'm like going off on Saint Brigid is because we're going to have more history to go on Brigid as saint, because you've got that Christianity element, and you've got more myths like written down. So Brigid is also known as the foster mother of Christ. This clearly shows the mixing of Christian and pagan influence that is so common. It's common here, I think, Ireland. As foster mother, she is, of course, exceptionally honored, since in Celtic society, the foster parents had a special place. They ranked higher than the natural parents, the relationship being considered extremely sacred. And that is from the Dalriada Celtic Heritage Trust. That where I'm citing from. As Rita Minahan said in Rekindling the Flame, a pilgrimage in the footsteps of Brigid of Kildare, roughly paraphrased, it's an exercise in futility to try and separate the historical Christian Saint Brigid from the goddess, since they are so interwoven. Yeah. Good point, Dina. Mercury is still retrograde. Yep. So I'm gonna keep my eye to make sure that I'm not completely losing you. Losing. So what's right, what's wrong? It's all myth. No one knows for sure. So her worship began in the same way as the other Celtic gods and goddesses, out of fear of what would happen if she was not worshipped and revered. It's a preemptive measure to stave off the harshness of life. Worship built as survival. Because the Celts had an oral history rather than a written one, it becomes nearly impossible to say what Brigid's real roots are or what the original rituals to her were, but we can make educated guesses. Whichever facet of life Brigid presided over, there would likely be a ritual associated with: protection of livestock, abundance of crops, kindling and smoring of fires to protect the hearth and home and the people in it from uncontrolled flame, safeguarding of clean water sources such as wells, streams, rivers, blessings before going to war. Honestly, I feel it would be easier to list everything that Brigid was not worshipped for, because it would be a much shorter list. And I am going to pull this over and have a different document. I'm going to try and close up some of this stuff that I've got going on. There's a lot. I've got a lot of windows going on here. Everyone can still see me and hear me though, right? I'm going to refresh some stuff too. Hour and 34 minutes. I'm seeing it. Okay. Ugh. Spammer's happening again. So ridiculous. Whatever. I don't know why all of this stuff is appearing. Report. And report. And I don't know why there's still a bunch of it here, but oh well. I'd love to be able to do that within Be Live instead of having to report it all over the place. Yes, Zuri. Really quickly, does the Be Live work for you on YouTube? Yes, it does. I am seeing all comments that are coming up from Facebook, my business page on Facebook, and also YouTube, including some spammy porn kind of stuff coming up for some reason. It's just a comment and a link to, but I'll report it later. But it does get in the way. I will say that. I'm trying to concentrate here. I'm just trying to present some stuff, And by the way, I am sex positive, but I'm not a big fan of spamming of any type when I'm trying to teach. So where was I? Educated guesses, livestock, abundance of crops. Yep. So Exalted One, the Great Lady, applied not just to this goddess, but any female in power or other female goddesses, and much like the Greeks and Romans, could be applied alongside a descriptive attribute or facet such as Apollo. And I'm not going to attempt to do the pronunciations because that seems to damage things. And yes, Zuri, I'm on both. I'm on both right now. I'm broadcasting to YouTube and I'm broadcasting to Facebook. And actually, I'm broadcasting to my personal Facebook page as well. But I can't see comments from my personal Facebook page. I think it's just permission settings. So we can talk about that. I can definitely help you out on that if you're considering doing Be Live. So yeah, I am not going to try to attempt these titles again. Absolutely. YouTube.com/Hilary Tarot, Hilary with one L. If you're already not subscribed, subscribe. And that's to everyone. That's all of you. Subscribe wherever you're watching this from. I would appreciate it. So there's different titles. So Brigid is not just a proper name. Brigid was a title. And so it turned into her name. And you can use these titles, which I'm not going to do because that's where we got into trouble the last time. So much like Apollo has different titles attributed to that facet of Apollo. So Apollo of the Oracle, Apollo the Foreseeing, Apollo Shooter from Afar. Clues to some of Brigid's worship and forms are within this framework. Some of hers are Brigid of Piety, aka Saint Brigid, Brigid of the Dispossessed, Brigid of the Judgments. So I also wanted to say, and I don't think we got this far before it cut out, just let me know if that's the case. But I spoke about this a little bit in the Hecate episode where they have there's this attribution as to the triple goddess Maiden Mother Crone that happens with Hecate. It also happens with Brigid, and it's not entirely accurate. It's not Maiden Mother Crone. They're different facets. So Hecate can be many things. Hecate can be keeper of the crossroads. And some of that actually we talk about in some of the songs that we use in rituals. And Zuri is now tuning in over on YouTube and seeing exactly what I mean in the live chat. I'm trying to report this. No, unpinned message. I don't want to pin that. Report. It is a pain in the ass. I'm going to have to block all of that. Yep, exactly. Yep. So go ahead and report that if you can. Thank you. Wow, the spam over here is crazy town. Yeah, and it's not normally like that either. So I don't know why that is. I guess sometimes if you go live for a long time, they just get right on you, seeing that it's just like, oh, well, this is an hour and a half. They're not going to notice. Like, I notice. I see everything. So yeah, please report it. I'd appreciate it. But this is part of the good reason about the good thing about Be Live is that I can broadcast to many different places, and then I don't have to stop the broadcast, download, then upload to YouTube. I feel like it's easier. It's easier this way. So thank you. Thank you for reporting. Thank you for click the bell, subscribe, all of that kind of stuff. So back to the whole trifold triple goddess thing. It's about facets. It's not Maiden Mother Crone. Same thing with Hecate. It's not Maiden Mother Crone. It's different facets. So like, one of the songs that we sing is Hecate, keeper of the crossholds, Hecate, wisdom of the flame, Hecate, wisdom of the darkness, guide our way, guide our way. Not time. Nope. I'm not trying to invoke you, but Hecate, keeper of the crossroads, Hecate, holder of the flame, wisdom of the darkness, guide our way, guide our way. So even in those chants, you can understand different aspects of her. And it's usually three-faceted. Brigid, in her trifold form, three Brigid sisters. I'm not going to try and pronounce it. And thank you, Zuri, for the compliment about my singing voice. I am actually a trained singer, and I really love singing. I enjoy singing. It's one of my hobbies. Thank you for the compliment. So the different titles of the three Brigid sisters are Woman of Healing, woman of smith work, and woman poet. So, and I'm not going to attempt what that looks like. I think that's Gaelic that I was trying to pronounce, and that's when we lost you. It's just like, I don't think she liked my pronunciation. Jenny, you are not way late. Well, yeah, kind of, but you're here as on time as you needed to be. And this is why we have replays. So don't worry about it. You can rewind it back. We are well into the episode though. So, you can catch up with the replay later when we're done. So we're talking about, if you tuned in to the Hecate episode, we're talking about the triple goddess, maiden, mother, crone. It's not exactly how it works with Hecate. It's not how it works with Brigid either. So this is the Brigid episode of the goddess series, which I think you might have suggested along with a bunch of other people too. So Zuri says that explains so much. No one wants to hear me sing. I don't know if that's necessarily true. We all have our talents. For example, my husband is a drummer. As a hobby, he's not a professional drummer, but he loves to do it. He has very good rhythm. Insert sexual joke here. And he cannot carry a tune with a bucket and a handle. He can't. He has a terrible singing voice. He can't sing. So, to each our own. So, and I think there's some people that just like, oh, well, you can be trained to sing better. And just like, yeah, I think you can. But some of it is a little bit of natural talent. Like I wouldn't even know how to teach someone how to sing better because it's hard for me to describe. Like, how sometimes singers are just like, and they're like using their hands. Like I understand that visualization. I don't necessarily do it because I think I look silly doing it. I'm not Christina Aguilera. Thank you. But I do understand that whole like different concepts. Actually, she teaches a masterclass on singing that I took, masterclass.com. Very interesting. And she describes about hitting high notes and talking about going over, like you want to aim higher than what you're doing so that like the next note after the high note is as pure as the high note, which I listened to that. I understood that. I don't think people that are not singers or don't have innate talent towards it can really make that visualization. So I say to each their own. What do I think about intuition? There is natural talent for intuition too, but I think everyone can cultivate it. So, but thank you. Jenny says, true. Thanks. Yeah, you can catch up. That's why we have the replays. I love that. So other titles for the whole triple goddess thing. So the trifold form, woman of healing, woman of smith work, woman poet for Brigid. It's not maiden, mother, crone. She's also known as Brigantia, Bride, Briginta, Brigdu, and Brigid, though her name, Brigid, may have been more of a title, again, than a proper noun or name. The earlier Brigid was goddess of poetry and music, one of the three great divinities of love, goddess of women, the keeper of prophecies and dreams, the watcher of greater destinies, the guardian of the future. I think she was no other than the Celtic Demeter, that Demeter Born of the embrace of Poseidon, who in turn is no other than Lear, the Oceanus of the Gale, and instead of Demeter seeking and lamenting Persephone in the underworld, it is Demeter, Brigid, seeking her brother, or maybe her son, and Manon, god of the sea, son of Oceanus, Lear. Persephone and Manon are symbols of the same return to life. That's cited from The Winged Destiny by William Sharp and Fiona MacLeod. I found that whole section of Brigid's story fascinating, and it made me wonder if my original attraction to the Persephone Demeter myth as a child was more about Brigid trying to show me her face rather than me thinking Persephone might be the goddess I would eventually choose to dedicate to. Sorry, I heard a banging. I don't know if someone was knocking on my door. That would be kind of funny. A side note of this is when I was doing research, I found the myth of her searching for her brother Manon the Beautiful, the parallel to the Persephone Demeter myth, and she finds him off the coast of Iceland, the very place that my husband and I were planning to cruise to for our wedding anniversary. The name of the cruise was the Mystical Fjords of Iceland. These plans were made prior to me researching this part of her mythology and history, and may prove to be an additional component to our vacation now that I know. Now, that vacation didn't happen, folks. We were planning on doing that the fall of 2020, and as you know, global pandemic. So that hasn't happened. Maybe in August of this year, hopefully. There is another myth that parallels the Persephone Demeter myth. Her main holiday is Imbolc, like I said before, and Imbolc is coming up February 1st and 2nd. And in Imbolc, there are modern myths associating her with the Cailleach. At Samhain, Brigid becomes the Cailleach, while at Imbolc, she drinks from a sacred spring that returns her to Brigid. Other myths are that the Cailleach imprisons her and releases her on Imbolc, or her brother Angus rescues her. This changing of the seasons and imprisonment of Brigid, or of her taking the form of the Cailleach winter hag and returning to her beautiful self to herald the spring, is also mentioned in Courtney's book. There's a lot more that I can say. So I will skim around here. What does the world need from Brigid right now? This is a question posed to me in my work. I feel like Brigid is a goddess of many, divergent and yet inclusive, flexible and multi-talented. Her attributes of being the goddess of smithworking, the well, the forge, sacred to poets and creatives. She does so many things because she is all-encompassing to many, and that is why I believe so many are attracted to following her in modern paganism. There is an upsurge in multi-passionate people and entrepreneurship that doesn't focus on any one thing. So many people are multi-talented, yet told that a jack of all trades is a master of none. Brigid subverts that notion and tells us that all forms of creativity are valid, that different and varied skill sets are appreciated and are a good thing. This is all my writing too, so I relate to Brigid in both of her elemental attributes, the fire of the forge, the water of the well. Much of the time, it's the fire element that I see in myself. Hello, triple Aries over here. And the water element of compassion and healing and peace that I desperately crave and need. With my mind, I see her as fire, but when she comes to me quietly, peacefully, but with strength. She comes to me in the ways I need her and in the ways that I will accept her help. I know. The way she approaches me is a lesson in itself, that you must know your audience and sometimes tailor your approach to the way someone may best hear you or be ready to receive the message. Let's see. There are so many of her myths that I'm going to only focus on a few that I find personally significant. And again, I'm open to questions too, or if you have experiences with Brigid. So please put it in the chat. Love to hear it. It's so hard because I love so many of the myths, from the tending of the flame in the fire temple, in which on the 20th night, Brigid tends it herself, to the weaving of rushes to make the Breed's Cross, another testament to do it yourself and using the tools that you have in front of you. I also have so many fond memories of gathering together and making crosses out of pipe cleaners, laughing with my coven mates when we just couldn't quite work it out and had to try again. I find the myth of her mantle covering the land when she was establishing the church at Kildare to be a testament of flexibility, problem solving, working with what you have and making something from seemingly nothing. Do you sense a theme here? And actually, I can read one of her myths here. Origins of Brigid. I don't know if there's an index. I don't think there's an index. But here's a traditional Irish prayer for Imbolc. She who put beam in moon and sun, she who put food in earth and herd, she who put fish in stream and sea, hasten the butter up to me. Pray, Brigid, see my children yonder, waiting for buttered buns, white and yellow. Just happened to turn to that one. So that's part of the springtime in Imbolc. Oak tree of sacrifice, Brigid as fire goddess, inspiration, bardic tasks. There's a lot. There's a lot, everyone. There's a lot. Magical importance of poetry, story, and song. Heroes often got out of tricky situations by enchanting kings, gods, and goddesses with a song and poetry. That's true too. I've heard stories of Brigid's assistance coming as more of a swift kick than a gentle uplifting. I've witnessed Brigid workers suddenly feel pushed to make drastic lifestyle changes. I have found that calling on Brigid for help is quite a similar experience to a child calling on their mom for help cleaning their bedroom. Tough, direct, and I end up doing most of the work myself, aided by sharp and serious synchronicity. Yep. Yep. That's true. And there's a lot of great meditations here too. Here it is. Yeah, the story goes, so this is the story of the accidental making her of a bishop. Story goes that the Druidess nun was consecrated as Bishop of Kildare by accident. According to legend, the Bishop Ivor performing the liturgical rite read from the wrong passage and gave Brigid a status of power unheard of for women, even in contemporary Catholicism. If the story is true, it was almost certainly not an accident. Druidesses commonly held high posts, although nuns did not. To keep the respected druidess in a powerful position would have been to the church's advantage, strengthening alliances with the local population. Yet after her death, she became Saint Brigid. Even in the new faith, Brigid remained exalted. Hold on. I swear there was the story of the cloak in here, but I can retell it. But basically, what happened is she wanted to establish her church, and Wow, there's a lot of spamming happening. I can't even focus. I'll do that later. Dina asks, I wonder if she connects to Venus. Nice you were doing this as Venus goes direct. The feminine rises now. Well, interestingly enough, I don't necessarily know of her astrological associations because, like, again, you would know better than me. But I'm going to bring it back to tarot, as I normally do. Certain tarot cards remind me of messages from different gods or goddesses. Like sometimes Hecate will show up in the Queen of Swords, especially if I'm working with a certain deck. I believe the Queen of Swords in the Mary L tarot has like a crow eye on it, and for some reason I was just like, that's Hecate. Like I got a sense that it was Hecate. For Brigid, especially when you're saying about the Venus connection, I associate Brigid sometimes with the High Priestess card and sometimes with the Empress. Now, remember, the sign of Venus is on, I think, the shield that is propped up next to the Empress's throne. So there's usually the sign of Venus on the Empress card. So, and I do associate the Empress sometimes with Brigid. So if you want a connection to Venus, you've got one. Hope that makes sense. So telling of the mantle, this is one of my favorite ones, so I'll just paraphrase. So Brigid wanted to establish her church, and so she was there with her nuns. So this is a Saint Brigid story, and she wanted to establish her church. So she wanted the land to be able to build her church on, and basically she was told, no, we're not going to give it to you, and she was like basically asking for more land, and they finally, like, I don't remember who it was that said, but they were just like, well, we'll give you as much land as your cloak can cover, or your mantle can cover. So she said, okay. And then her mantle ended up stretching to the lengths of like fields and fields and fields. And so it was one of St. Brigid's miracles. And so they gave her the land to build her church. So, yeah, so that to me is a testament of flexibility, problem solving, working with what you have, and making something from seemingly nothing. Though Brigid is typically associated with Imbolc, it made me think back to the year that Brigid crashed Yule in our coven. And besides her being pissed, I think she came early because she was confused. She came a Sabbath earlier than her traditional Sabbath, and is it any wonder she did with the earth warming faster and further, the seasons and the climate associated with those seasons subverted by our ecological impact. At that time, I didn't know why, but I did get that definite sense of, uh-oh, mom's home and she's pissed energy. As previously stated, Brigid wasn't a land goddess, she was the land. Is it any wonder she came in with that energy? In this work, I have been looking back and seeing certain pivot points in the events that I used to commemorate my journey. The High Priestess tarot tattoo on my arm, done by the Mighty Horseman Tattoo Company. My coven sister at the time sat by me and watched it inked. Did I know then that I was dedicating and rededicating to this goddess without really knowing it internally? I think so, and not at the same time. In flipping through some of my books, deliberately searching for mention of Brigid, I found other connections in places I didn't expect, associations with Kuan Yin, of compassion, women and children, comfort, forgiveness, healing, mercy. Also depicted often with a jug of water, similar to early forms of Brigid statues. I was struck by this because when I was writing this, my Kuan Yin statue sat on my window ledge with my small green Brigid dolly given to me during one of our Imbolc celebrations, cradled in Kuan Yin's arms. So again, you have to remember some of this is going to be personal gnosis. It's not all, keyword associations. Like some of this is my own personal experience, which I think leads to better connections. So I would always say, work with this goddess, like tread softly, tread slowly, but like start to cultivate your own relationship with the goddess that you're interested in working with, whether it's Hecate or Brigid or any one of the other goddesses in the goddess series that we'll be talking about. Poetry, creativity. I realized that my major was in creative writing, and I haven't written a fiction story in over a year. I used to love to knit. My knitting bag remained untouched. All these talents and creativity abandoned out of feeling that they are unworthy pursuits, or that I should be devoting my time to other things, or just simply not defining myself as a creative person. I feel that I have so much fire, not enough of the water element of Brigid. I need her well of compassion more than ever. I was called a daughter of Brigid long before I had any right to be. By other people in pagan circles, oh yes, she's a daughter of Brigid. I didn't want to correct them or be rude. That mom figure that whispered to me in dreams, clenched my bowels at the office with constipation. That couldn't be when I refused to speak up for myself. That couldn't be the one and the same Brigid that everyone was talking about, right? And who was I to approach her? A seemingly Irish deity when I myself was not Irish. But then I learned more about her, realized the Celtic pantheon that stretched across not just Ireland, but all of the British Isles, and in turn found that Brigid and Brigantia of my family's homeland were one and the same. I've been stalling for too long or deliberately ignoring the signs she has sent me. I asked for a sign of her in Ireland in August 2012. And I quite promptly received it by seeing a red anvil on a black background almost 2 minutes after I asked for a sign. And long before that, at a candle carving class, when I carved my candle for divination using Brigid oil, High Priestess oil, and Oya oil, carving the 6 white roses for Brigid. There's so many examples of her calling to me and me stalling and asking for signs and ignoring them or heeding them. Everywhere I look lately, there she is. Like puzzle pieces clicking together, the jumbled become clear only in hindsight. And I see the winding path that she brought me on, quietly laughing at my folly, though not unkindly. She was there all along. I just couldn't see it. I know we are coming up on quite a long time. This is a longer episode. I don't know what time we're at, how many hours it has been. But I would strongly recommend getting this book. And I'm opening up to the floor to any questions you might have. But if you're considering working with Brigid, now's a really good time to do so, because we are coming up to her festival of Imbolc next week, and now's the time. I just turned to the stretch on the anvil. The shrine at Kildare. Without a doubt, Brigid's most famous flame can be found in the village of Kildare, located in the province of Leinster. There, a shrine to St. Brigid holds the perpetually burning flame. The area is believed to have originated as a pagan shrine and the original flame tended by 19 druidesses. This was a place that supposedly never admitted men into its sanctuary, and the perpetual flame never produced ash. The sanctuary was tended by virgin priestesses, and the leader was always called Brigid, but likely in a form as the Brigid, as in a title, indicating her leadership role more so than her name. The idea of virgin priestesses did not necessarily mean that these women spent their entire lives without ever knowing sexual experiences. Rather, they did not associate regularly with men so that their entire lives could be devoted to supporting the shrine, which was believed to promote the fertility of the land, rather than divert their energies to pregnancy and child-rearing. Any children born to these women were likely sent off for fostering by other women in the region. 19 priestesses tended to the perpetual fire, the number possibly correlating with the 19-year cycle of the Celtic Great Year. Each priestess would take a night to sit with the fire and tend it. On the 20th night, the fire would be left for the goddess to tend by herself. The 19th priestess would say to the shrine, Brigid, charge your own fire, for this night belongs to you. When the area became Christianized, the tradition continued with 19 nuns watching the flame. On the 20th night, the flame was left alone for St. Brigid to tend. Brigid, tend your flame, the 19th nun would say, for the 20th night is yours. The practice at Kildare continued up to the Reformation, when it, along with many Catholic practices, were suppressed for their decidedly pagan elements. A shrine for the original fire temple exists where the original was believed to be, and in the late 20th century, the Brigid flame was relit by the modern-day Brigidine sisters in Kildare, and a monument to the Perpetual flame was erected in the town square. While the temple remains a point of pilgrimage for lovers of Brigid, the flame itself is kept in a nearby cottage and tended to by the local Brigidine sisters, an order of nuns devoted to St. Brigid. There is also Brigid's Well in Kildare. I've been to both in 2020, in 2012. So get this book. There are some other great books out on the market. Oh, we do have an index here. The Serpent and the Goddess, Women, Religion, and Power in Celtic Ireland by Mary Condren. Celtic Myths and Legends by Peter Beresford Ellis. Celtic Women, also by Ellis. And the Druids, also by Ellis. Bards of the Isle of Britain by William Evans. The Witch's Goddess by Janet and Stuart Farrar. The Pagan Religions of the Ancient British Isles, Their Nature and Legacy by Ronald Hutton. The Festival of Lunasa by Mayor McNeil. The Festival of Brigid, Celtic Goddess and Holy Woman by Seamus, I'm not going to pronounce that last name correctly, O'Coffin. The Rites of Brigid by Sean O'Doone. Celtic Spirituality. The Life of St. Brigid by Anna Egan Smucker. There's a lot. There's also stuff about Maman Brigitte as well in here. Just touching upon it as well. So Katie says, being drawn to a deity or spiritual mentor is always amusing. You end up asking multiple times, especially if someone else tells you of your connection. You have to have it for yourself. What can be amusing is that sign can mean nothing to anyone else. It is only for you. That's correct. And that's why sometimes it's hard for me to describe Brigid or Hecate or Lou or Apollo or Maman Brigitte or yeah, and any of the deities or Voudon or Loa that I have worked with in the past. You want to be reverent, you want to be respectful, but also some of it is about your own personal meaning. Actually, funny story about that, about my time in Ireland and working a little bit with Brigid. She sent me all over an Irish town looking for a very specific kind of cheese to put on the altar to give as like an offering. I went to 3 stores. I'm just like, is it this one? She's like, no. Is it this one? No. So if you're familiar with any of that, like, no, yes. And it's just like, are you talking to yourself, Hilary? It's just like, no, it wasn't me. It wasn't me saying it. But there's a lot of instances of that. But thank you, Katie, for saying that. I think you hit the nail on the head there. I'll wait for a couple more questions before we do the weekend forecast, because I want to do the weekend forecast for you all. But like, thank you all so much for watching and learning about Brigid. It's a lot. I know we did another marathon session. We're over 2 hours now. But thank you for watching, and use what you need. Discard the rest. You can pause the replay at any time. You can feel free to put some comments into the chat as well, if you have any questions when watching the replay, because I know some of you aren't attending live. Some of you are watching it for the first time, and I'm not here live with you, but I am willing to answer questions. So please go ahead and put it in the chat, and I will get to them in written form. But this is part of the reason why I love doing these episodes live. I mean, aside the whole part of spammers. Yikes. This is the reason why I do these shows live Friday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. There's just a magic about it. And I feel like when you're here live as well, we're all in this together, and you can ask your questions, and you're asking questions not just on behalf of yourself, but you're asking questions on behalf of other people that might have the exact same question that you have, and they happen to be watching at 5 p.m. in Russia, or in China, or in Australia, or across the country or across the world. And they just happen to be watching this recording that this little tarot reader did about Brigid. So if you're asking your question when I'm doing this live, they might have that exact same question, and they're just like, oh, wow, thank you, Katie, or thank you, Dina, for asking that question, because that's exactly the question that I was going to ask. And now I have a video and audio response, instead of, answering back in the chat. But I will answer back in the comments in the chat. It's not the same. So I'll wait for some more questions to come through. If we don't have any questions, then I'm going to wrap up the episode with the weekend forecast. So now's the time. I do want to make an announcement that we do have a new episode of the Card Slingers Coast to Coast podcast up live today. The name of it's episode 48. Can you believe that? 48 episodes. So episode 48, we are back to talking about the major arcana, one by one. We are on the Hanged Man, or the Hanged One. So the name of the episode is Unclench Your Fist and Just Be the Hanged One. So we dive back into the series with a discussion of the Hanged One, aka the Hanged Man. Yes, we're renaming it because gender is a social construct. Many other decks do this too. So if the World card, the beginning and end of cycles, is a portal, then the Hanged One is the middle pause. They bring self-sacrifice for the greater good. They bring enlightenment and get new perspectives on the situation at hand. It's time to sit back, relax, and just be in the moment, no matter what. So we mentioned in that episode the Transient Light Tarot, which apparently was sold out, but it is coming back in June 2022. So I'm sure you can get on a wait list for that. The Pacific Northwest Tarot, the Sacred Sisterhood Tarot, the Wild Messengers Alchemical Tarot. And we are always open to your feedback. Please like and subscribe wherever you get your podcast, and leave us a kind review. We love, love, love questions and listener feedback. Otherwise, we wouldn't be doing what we're doing. So you can find that episode wherever you subscribe to your podcasts. Again, it's Card Slingers Coast to Coast. And we have episode notes on podbean.com. So it's cardslingerscc.podbean.com. And I will give you the link to the specific episode in the chat. So while that's propagating, Katie said Ireland is quite a magical place. Yeah, I mean, and I've heard stories about the trees moving and the fairies. Don't mess with the freaking fairies, especially in Ireland. Fairies are not cutesy things, Ireland is a very magical place. So Zuri asks, are you guys celebrating when you hit the big 5-0? That's an excellent question, and I haven't looked at our notes. But we probably should. That's a good idea. Thank you for suggesting that. I will mention that when we record on Tuesday, if I remember. Sometimes I don't even realize what episode we're on. We're just like, what number episode we're on? And we're just like, oh crap. And also we sometimes record things out of order. So we need to be very careful about that. And I think actually, it might be episode 51 that we celebrate, if I'm remembering correctly. It's hard to keep track. But it's a good idea. So I'm going to display this. Unclench your fist and just be the hanged one. So go ahead, listen to that episode. A reminder to everyone that we are swear bears and we do curse. And for some reason, we just got a little punchy in this episode because I re-listened to the episode. Actually, I wasn't even finished listening to it. I think I'm at minute 27 out of like, I've got 6 minutes left on the episode, but we get pretty punchy around minute 25. We try to keep them short, but sometimes we go a little bit over, and then our producer is like, why, guys? 30 minutes. Time yourselves. Jenny asks, will you still be doing an episode on the year-long spread from the Amberstones? Yes, I am. I'm just moving that episode back to February, middle of February. No, second week in February. I'm going to be doing that. So the first episode in February. So upcoming. We're not gonna do a scheduling episode for February. I'm going to say that right now because we already have some episodes that are backlogged that I definitely want to cover, and that's one of those episodes. So, we're not going to do a scheduling episode, but I am going to give you the schedule in February. So the first episode, I believe, is going to be on Imbolc, part of the Sabbath series. So that's this coming Friday. So definitely tune in. Got to do Imbolc on that day. And then the week after, the Friday after, we're going to be doing the year-long spread from the Amberstones. And Zuri is laughing, and I'm guessing that she's laughing because of our potty mouths. Yeah, major potty mouth. That's why we get along so well. Yeah, for definite. I try to be good. I try to be good on lives. I mean, for this particular, I'm so sorry to one of our viewers because, oh gosh, was it one of our viewers? Yes, we have okay. And I think it's the same. I think it's the same person that subscribes to the Card Slingers Coast to Coast podcast. So I found this out that there is a loyal viewer that watches on Friday nights, and I cannot remember your name, and I'm very sorry about it. I'll probably remember after I click the end button. But she was so sweet, and she said, I think it was about the Charms episode. She was like, my daughter and I watched this together. And I think her daughter is under 10. And I'm just like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Because I swear I can't help it. And this is part, and I think she also listens to the podcast. I think it might be the same person. So I'm very sorry that I am a swear bear. I hope you continue to watch these episodes with your daughter, and cover her ears when you think I have this look on my face that a swear's coming on. I don't know what I mean, some people have said oh, well, when you curse, it's not professional. And it's just I'm an adult. I'm an adult and I can use curse words when I feel like it. But yeah, hearing that, I was just like, oh my God, how many F-bombs and S-bombs have I dropped inadvertently? So, and I used to do radio in college too. And there's a dump button when someone swears, but I would never get to it on time. So, I always had to remember to censor myself, and I don't know if I ever got in trouble, but you could definitely get big fines if you cursed or if there was expletives in the music that you were playing. So you have to be very careful about that. Anyway, any other questions? And that's your That's your note about we do have a new episode of the Card Slingers podcast today on Clench Your Fist and Just Be the Hanged One. So check that out. I also want to remind you can book a reading with me or a tarot tutoring session with me or a brain picking session with me, tarotbyhilary.com. I'm usually always going to pull the tarot cards. But we do have an episode of the Card Slingers Coast to Coast podcast where we talk about holding space for people. And sometimes I've had to do that too. And not a single card was pulled. And yet that's exactly what they needed for the session. I always feel a little bit weird when that happens. But at the same time, holding space is holding space. You know, it's a real thing. I'm actually surfing through the episodes. That might have been one that we re-recorded, but we didn't send out yet. Maybe not. I don't know. I could have sworn we recorded an episode about holding space. Actually, let me look again. I think that might have been part of the episode on post-reading aftercare for readers with Honoreo. Yeah, I think that might have been it. Sorry, I can't find it right now. So Zuri says it's gotten to the point that me and your personality are the reasons they tune into our social media. So to censor fully makes it inauthentic. That's true. That's very true. And I feel it too. Like I start to stutter. You know, I'm just like, oh, did I curse it? And it, like it makes it worse. And I mean, like Melissa, my fellow co-host of the Card Slingers Coast to Coast podcast, the damn reason we're doing this podcast in the first fucking place. There we go again. She has said, like, before she teaches, like, I'm gonna swear. If you don't like swears, like, I'm very sorry, but like, if I censor myself, you know, I'm going to start stuttering and I'm like not going to present fully. So I'm just letting you know that right now. And she actually did that. And I'm going to try not to tear up, but I remember this at the Masters of the Tarot weekend that I shared a room with her, and when she was presenting, I was sitting next to our George that unfortunately passed away. So it's kind of hard to talk about. And we were sitting next to each other and we were doodling in each other's notebooks and everything. And we started to keep a tally of every time she cursed just to see if it was really that bad. And then we raised our hands at the end and said, we're really disappointed. There were no F-bombs and there were only a couple of S-bombs. So you're very disappointing right now with your tally. Like, it's funny the things that you remember about people. But yeah. George, we miss you, George. I used to be so worried about turning people off, but now I just realize they just aren't my right people or audience. Exactly. Yeah, I mean, authenticity is a really big thing. It's like one of my biggest things, like one of my hallmarks. And it's just like, I'm gonna say this right now. My therapist said this is something that, by the way, you're gonna notice that in the podcast as well, because Melissa's just like, my therapist Joel says. Well, it's just like, okay, well, my therapist says. My therapist said to me that I am vulnerable and transparent. And I'm just like, I don't want to be that. And he was just like, no, it's a good, like, you can no more change that about yourself than change the color of your skin. You know, like that is who you are. And so part of that is my integrity and my honesty and my I'm not going to pronounce it right now. Authenticity. I can't words right now. It's a very large part of who I am and what I do. And I take umbrage when people are not being authentic, when people are lying, when people are sneaky or dishonest, because that is just not who I am. Like, am I capable of little white lies? Sure, on occasion. But I read the Outlander series by Diana Gabaldon, and she talks about her protagonist, Claire, as someone with a glass face, where it's hard for her to lie without showing it on her face, or deceive without showing it on her face. So yeah, me and Claire Fraser have that similarness. We have glass faces. So, and yeah, we can no more be somebody else than, you know, become stone faced, like we can't do it. So but one of the biggest compliments I've ever received is when people book with me on my website, again, tarobyhilary.com, shameless plug, or shameless, no shame, it's a plug. Buy buy a reading. Someone booked with me on my website, and I had never met the complete stranger, never met them before. And I think I met them in person, back when I was reading in person instead of over phone or Skype or Zoom. And they said, "You are exactly who you say you are. Like, you give that off in your website. You're exactly like, you're so authentic. Like, you are who you say you are on your website." And I'm just like, oh, good. Like, that's my intention. Because I mean, like, sometimes you don't know who you're buying from, or you don't know what it's going to be like working with that person. And that's part of the reason why I do these weekly live shows. Like, this is a little, like, if you want to book a reading with me, like, this is going to be a conversation between the two of us, and I'll have my tarot cards. My tarot cards are over here. I'll have my tarot cards, and I'll read, and we'll talk, and I'll read, and you'll ask questions, and I'll ask you about the situation. I'll and I'll give you a reading, because it should be a conversation. Like, my intuition is talking to your intuition, and the common language is the tarot, and that's how I read, and that's how I am, and that's who I am. So, yes, is this a marketing tactic, doing live weekly shows? Of course it is. It's free, sure, but you're getting knowledge. You learned about Brigid, about the goddess Brigid, um you know and you're getting a weekend forecast, and you're getting astrology, and you're also learning about me, so that you can possibly work with me in the future. Thank you, I guess. So, like Zuri was saying, I used to be worried about turning people off, but now I just realized they aren't my right people or audience. Exactly. So let's get to the weekend forecast, shall we? Because, and any other questions about Brigid before we move to the weekend forecast? And I'm going to hydrate myself. I'm actually going to give you a twofer. I'm going to give you one from the Super Attractor Affirmations deck by Gabby Bernstein, with artwork by Michaela Ezra. And I'm going to give you a tarot card. I know, surprise, right? I've been working a lot with oracle cards and affirmation cards lately, but I am a tarot reader. So I'm going to give you a tarot card from the Tarot of the Burrows photograph tarot deck. This is I believe out of print now, but it's a very Brigid heavy theme because this tarot deck was also done by Courtney Weber, with photography by George Courtney. So we have the Courtney Weber twofer right now. So how does that sound to everybody? Let's go for it. Ooh, also, before I start pulling from the Super Attractor, some other books that I would recommend, not necessarily Brigid related, but just books that I'm got my hands on right now. We have Kitchen Table Magic by Melissa Sanova. You may have heard of her. Because I just happened to pull this. Sorry. Bibliomancy. Oh, that's very sweet of you. Well, welcome to the broadcast. Apart from being a tarot reader, you also are a good motivational speaker. Thank you. That's very nice of you to say. Well, welcome to the weekly shows. We do them every Friday night at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's very sweet of you. So, Kitchen Table Magic by Sanova. Also, I've just been doing a lot of cleaning of my books. Modern Tarot, Connecting with Your Higher Self Through the Wisdom of the Cards, by Michelle T. Oh, I did some bibliomancy with this one. Excuse me. The way she writes about tarot, it's very, very good. And it was just very pertinent for what I was going through when I flipped to it. So, again, Card Slingers Coast to Coast, subscribe to our podcast. All right. I wouldn't say I'm an angel, but thank you. So, let us do the weekend forecast. So, Super Attractor first. I am not playing entirely with a full deck because I have an affirmation card that I have been using lately. So I'll show you that affirmation card though. My affirmation card that I've been using is I let the universe catch up with my dreams. So that's my own personal one. So if that resonates for you, take it, use it. And now we're going to pull one for everybody for the weekend forecast first. What do we most need to know for this weekend or whenever you're viewing this episode? Well, that's resonating with me too. So our affirmation card from Gabby Bernstein's Super Attractor deck is to begin the practice of allowing, I must get out of the way and let spirit give me direction. Smack me over the head, why don't you? Oh, thank you. Thank you for subscribing. One of these days I'm going to figure out Twitch. Or I don't know if I'm going to scatter my attention too much across social media, but Twitch has a really cute subscriber feature where it was just it pops up every time everyone subscribes. I don't know. I thought it was cute, but I might just do my own thing. All right. So from Tarot of the Burrows, what is the weekend forecast? What do we need to know? Interesting. So remembering that this is a photographic deck, it is not an illustrated deck. So sometimes that can turn people off. But I really love Tarot of the Burrows because the theme and the figures that are in each of the minor arcana suits, cups, wands, pentacles, and swords, they use the same actors, basically. And so you can kind of follow the story along from the ace to the 10. and then also into the court cards. And I find that's a really great way to work with photographic decks. But not everyone likes them, and that's fine too. But I like this photographic deck. And also I believe it's out of print. So if you already don't have Tarot of the Burrows, like, too bad, so sad. Oh, that's funny. That's very nice of you. I don't think you have 21 years of experience. You yourself look 21. There. Thank you very much. I have good genes. I can thank my mother's side of the family for that. We look much younger than we actually are. So I'm just going to call myself a swamp witch. But I am actually in my 40s. So we are getting the Six of Swords. So you have a little sneakies in the background, and then you have the blindfolded, and then you also have the sword. But Six of Swords. So it's not six swords. So the little companion book, or the little white book that we call it, for the Six of Swords, it's very short. One line. So the Six of Swords is shuffling the power play, is the keyword with that, or the key phrase with that. But to me, it's not so much a card of, like, usually the Six of Swords is about transition from like rougher waters to smoother waters, and it's kind of nice. It has like the people in the boat, they're rowing from wavy water to smoother sailings, smoother glass surface, and there's a shore in the distance. And usually it is a card of transition, and it's a card of like up leveling or moving. Sometimes it can be about traveling as well. Now, I can't go and say that about this Six of Swords, because it's not showing that scene. It's not showing the kind of idyllic scene or the oaring from, tumultuous waters to smoother sailing. But what it is talking about is this figure's blindfolded, something's going on in the background, and is about shifting. So the combination of the affirmation card of, to begin the practice of allowing, I must get out of the way and let spirit give me direction, plus the Six of Swords about shuffling the power play, it is, I think, combined about getting out of our own way. So think about this weekend. Think about everything that you need to do this weekend. And, just because you can't see where you're going right now, that doesn't mean that you're necessarily lost. Like some of the lessons that you're learning right now, and I'm also going to speak from my own personal experience saying this, like, some of it is about, you don't have to see the outcome, or you don't have to see the future and not like, and think that you're lost. Like, you're not lost, like, you can't future trip too much, because then you're going to stumble, and you can't look at the past too much, because then you're also going to stumble. You can only stay in the present, and you can only see as much as you can see right now. Like, you currently have all the information that you need, so act accordingly. You're not as blind as you think you are. Like, use those instincts as well. Okay, that's a download. So Dina says it looks like the Knight of Swords. Well, these figures run throughout the sword suit in this deck. I think though, the man that has the sword in this photo, he ends up being the King of Swords. So these are the King and Queen of Swords within the figures, or within the Six of Swords for this particular deck. And Dina says, we are moving into a just do it springtime. Yeah, I think so. Even as it's snowing and flurrying outside and we're under a blizzard warning. So that was an intense episode. We're at 2 hours and 40 minutes. I thank you all for hanging out and watching. The replay will be up shortly. And thank you so much. Thank you for tuning in and learning about Brigid. Again, I want to remind everyone that we do this every Friday night at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on a different tarot topic or metaphysical topic, or whatever you guys want to learn about. So tonight we did the second episode in the Goddess series about the goddess Brigid, my goddess. So thank you so much for watching. There's way more about Brigid that you can learn, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. And we did a 2 hour and 40-minute episode, not all about Brigid, but there's a lot. So I do encourage you to do your own research. If Brigid is interesting to you, work with her. See how that goes and let me know. Tina says, thank you for a detailed episode. It's a re-listen must. Absolutely. Absolutely. Because you're going to get different things on the next listen. And sometimes I tune back in too. Thank you, Hilary. Have a good weekend, everybody. Manan, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, keep spreading light in everyone's life. I will do my darndest. I definitely will. Bless you too, or God bless you, goddess bless you. So again, Friday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I thank you all so much for watching. So next week, we're not doing a scheduling episode for the month of February because we already have some of our topics lined up. And so I will definitely show an image like this or share an image like this. For February. So for January, this is what we did. This was our episodes. And I thank you all for making this what it is. So Jenny says, it's so generous of you to spend this time with us. Thank you so much. Please, thank you. Thank you by sharing this episode. If you're so inclined, book a reading with me. If you're so inclined, the PayPal tip jar is open. If you're so inclined, Zuri says, love the show. Thank you. You're very, very welcome. So Friday, January 7th, these are all replays up and available if you want to watch them. We did the scheduling episode. Friday, the 14th, we did spammers, scammers, and charlatans. And again, that problem is still continuing on Instagram, folks. So if you want to go on Instagram, please be careful when you are looking at Instagram. And if you're getting DMs from someone that you think is me, ask me. tarotbyhilary.com, Hilary with 1 L. That is my only Instagram account. I show it in my profile. If you're seeing like Hilary with Tarot by Hilary with 2 underscores at the end, where you're getting messages in your DM saying, Grand Rising, beloved, do you want to be considered for a reading? And like, I don't do that. That's not me. And they're trying to scam you. The only way to book with me is tarotbyhilary.com, and I don't have time to be soliciting for readings in people's DMs. This is part of the reason why I do this live show every Friday night, so I can reach out to as many people as possible, showcase my work, but also not be intrusive in your DMs. I'm not going to scam you. You will actually get a reading with me if you book a reading with me. Do you know what I mean? Okay. I get very heated about that. You can see that in that episode. Go back and watch the replay. Last week, we had no show. And this week, tonight, Brigid, part of the Goddess series. So next week, we are going to be talking about the year-long tarot spread from the Amber Stones method. I'm going to do a little bit of research and bring that to you. That's by popular request. I think it was Jenny that requested it. Thank you for the reminder. So we're going to be doing that. Actually, sorry. No. I'm misspeaking. I'm very sorry about that. Next week, Friday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we're talking about Imbolc. Imbolc, part of the Sabbath series. Not the Goddess series, the Sabbath series. Dude. I'm okay. So I've only been doing this for almost 3 hours now. So we are talking about the Sabbath Imbolc next week, Friday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The week after that, we will be talking about the year-long method by the Amber Stones. And the week after that, I'm not sure. I have to go look at my notes. But you will get an image on social media looking like this with February and the February dates. So tune in next week for the episode on Imbolc. Blah, 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 blah. I thank you all so much for watching. Again, book a reading with me, tarotbyhilary.com. Remember, I am a professional tarot reader, demystifying the mystical and putting you in touch with the most beautiful of gifts, your own intuition. Because yes, my friends, do not argue with me. You have intuition. Thank you all so much for watching. Thank you to long-standing viewers and new viewers tonight. Please go ahead, click on subscribe, click the bell for notifications, get reminders wherever you watch these shows, and I will see you next week, Friday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Bye, and have a great weekend.